You're listening to The Stark Truth with Robert Stark. Visit us on the web at www.starktruthradio.com. Hey guys, this is Pill Eater. I'm joined today with Larsen Halleck. He is the blogger for thebarbaricgentleman.com, and he also blogs on Return of the Kings and has some YouTube videos as well. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too.
I'm also joined here with Robert Stark.
Hi, Pillator. Hi, Larsen.
Well, Robert.
So, we actually got in contact because before we had Matt Forney on the show, and there's a lot of that talk about, I guess you would call the manosphere or red pilling. And especially now in today's climate, it seems like whenever you talk about disciplined man stuff, it's like feminists or SJWs will get upset because they don't want to hear that. And yet at the same time, it happens all around. There is like this man culture at least. But, I mean, from what I'm not that much of a reader from Return of the Kings. I used to read some of Aaron Clary's stuff all the time. I mean, I love his book like Worthless and Bachelor Pad Economics. I find those really good reads. But
was he the guy you did the YouTube video with?
Yeah, I actually got asshole consulting. I actually did one of those videos with him, and I thought that was really funny. But
So under asshole consulting, that's his shtick. He's rude to everyone. He wasn't just exclusively rude to Pillator.
It's a good rude. It's like wisdom. That's what I like about it.
It's a wise assholeness.
Yeah, he's a wise asshole, and so.
Well, he said something. He said something like you shouldn't base your political ideology on your sexual preferences.
Well, some people do, and I don't think I do. I don't.
You don't identify as a yellow-sexual.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know what that means. What ideological sexual. But other than the whole
new sexualities, so.
Oh. But the other masculine advice I always usually get is I actually had The Way of Men by Jack Donovan when I was 19, and I had some of his other books, and I really enjoy them. But I mean, what background do you see yourself as like a full manosphere guy, or not really? Or are you doing more of your own original content? Like, what is the stuff behind your own blogging at The Barbaric Gentleman, and how did you really get into blogging?
I guess I am a manosphere guy, or a neo-masculinist, as Roosh calls himself nowadays. I mean, my background is kind of like his in that when I was young, I mean, I was kind of like a nerd. I was like kind of effeminate. I got bullied a lot. So, I mean, I didn't, learn from the manosphere. I kind of went through the school of hard knocks, and I came to kind of the same conclusions, which I guess shows the universal truth of all this. And then, I came to Return of Kings eventually, after I really needed it. But, I thought this is kind of when Return of Kings was going away from just pure, PUA stuff into more philosophical things. And I thought this is pretty interesting. Then I commented there, and eventually I thought maybe I could be a blogger, and here I am.
Huh. Yeah. That is. It seems that most people with blogging today, it's like if anyone could start a blog, and it's like if you. What I've been seeing with the whole blogosphere recently, that you have people like on Jezebel, right? And they're all feminist bloggers, or at least Jezebel, right? Where they're all, girl bloggers, and they talk around this whole identity politics. Do you see yourself as falling under that identity hole, or do you see something doing more original with that?
I mean, in a way, yeah, it is identity politics. Because that's what Return of the Kings does get accused of that sometimes, like being like male feminism, whatever.
Exactly.
MRA thing, and Roosh is very adamant that ROK is not our MRA. That's Return of Kings and men's rights activists. I apologize for the use of acronyms, but the way I see it is that identity politics was kind of forced on young white men, or half white men in me and Pill Eater's case, and it wasn't really something that we chose for the financial benefits or anything like that. It was, a quote that you see a lot is like, identity politics, you may not be interested in identity politics, but identity politics is very interested in you, and that's kind of my philosophy on it.
Yes, I can totally understand that. I mean, you kind of naturally fall in these things, and the other day, I mean, I'm not the follower of the rightstuff.biz, but one of the popular characters is Sven, and Sven has been recently doing these weird high Svenergy videos. But yeah, once again, I mean, I met Mike Enoch in person, but
Is Sven the bodybuilder guy who was interviewed in Red Ice?
I don't recall. But Sven, he's recently shows his face now, and he's there still with his name. But his high Svenergy videos basically are mocking these like classical SJW, like like these YouTube celebrity things, but he puts them in this like far right, Nazi troll joking, right? And he's getting a lot of subscribers for that. But I was talking this with Rabbit Robert that it's kind of weird because I just find it like the same thing as like the feminist mystique, but it's rather just reversed. And there's this kind of. Have you seen some of Sven videos yet?
I haven't. I mean, I do.
Okay.
I do read the right stuff. I do generally think that some of their articles are good, even though there's been that controversy about the personal lives of some of the guys on that website, which I won't get into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's the whole drama, and I guess they're doing their own thing. But I never was a TRS guy. I just felt like it was a whole identity politics for that side, and I feel like the whole culture is in this victimization thing, and I really don't like being the victim thing because I feel like at the same time I feel like I can overcome that and be more, I guess, masculine about it, and overcome these things.
Yeah, see, that's why I've always felt that if we were going to have some kind of end goal for all this, reaction, what I call the reactive sphere, the alt-right, the manosphere, all that stuff, we have to start being procreative. We have to start making our own culture. We can't just whine and stuff about on our blogs. I mean, which is good, but you got to do more than that. That's kind of what I was trying to do with my YouTube reviews, because I mean, all the reviewers are just huge SJWs, and I want to be something that's not that. As far as I'm aware, it's just me and Razor Fist.
On your YouTube channel, you have videos of River City Ransom and Sexual Trauma of Pac-Man and Burning Fight. These I do remember Burning Fight. That was like for Neo Geo, and that was like an obscure video game system. But it's funny that you relate. Can you talk to some of those videos about? I mean, some of the video game themes. Why it's there?
Yeah.
It's more like no, I really like the Happa blog sucks and you suck for reading that. I swear.
Well, didn't the Happa blog they attacked you? They did a whole post about Pillator.
They did, yeah. And for some time and a few months ago, I think they do it once in a while too. They'll throw my name out there and say Pillator is scum, he's racist, he's whatever. But I get free publicity on that. It shows you that some of the Happa guys actually subscribed to my channel just for that free publicity and actually worked for me. But it's weird because they're one of those shrieking people that they have to find some kind of Hitler figure in order to make their day, and I guess I make their existence. I'm their boogeyman. I've said this before. But why particularly were they I mean, I know they've been attacking you too, Halleck. I just don't know exactly the drama, how it started.
Well, I mean, first of all, I never even heard the term Happa until I was like 23, and I still don't really know what it means. I mean, other than obviously a half Asian, half white person, but I mean, what is the etymology of that term, if you know it?
It's like it's supposed to be It's supposed to be California West Coast, half of Asian descent, but it's like
so it's like pigeon.
I think it originated in Hawaii.
Oh, so it's like pigeon.
The word I used was hafu, like half. You're just a halfie, or you're just some kind of white beam person. I've never heard it. Yeah, Happa was the same thing, but I guess it's a popular identity thing, but I don't know. I think it's just...
Yeah, I just use Eurasian if
exactly, yeah, or Eurasian.
Oh, well, anyway, I wrote this one article on, Asian men and masculinity. It was titled A Polite Letter to Asian Men, or an open letter, rather. And really, I just kind of went from my own experience, my own struggles with, like, sex and things. And I want to say, it's not... the evil white man keeping you down. It's not the fucking internment camps. Shut up about them. It's you, all right? And really, when you get down to it, I feel that a lot of resentment amongst Asian Americans is just sexual frustration. And I just want to make that clear and say, I support you. You can get out of this hole and you can have sex, because really, what else do you have to complain about?
You're saying more than other groups because, I mean, economically, Asians are much more well off than black
Yeah,
chicks.
absolutely. I mentioned that in the article. Let me link it to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way too. I can totally relate to that, Eurasian background. That it's more like but here's the funny part. I don't know any like the Asian males I know. I know like some of them are just pretty normal. Maybe because I hang out with normal ones, and I know half of them are the typical, the fat Chinese who plays StarCraft
Huh.
and computer games and whatnot, and they get hooked to that. But it's like I never see victim status for
Well,
Asians, and
I
I
see
never.
the Asian SJW movement is more dominated by the Asian women who are feminists. Are you talking about Asian male
I'm
SJWs?
talking, yeah, it's like
Yeah, I
non-existent.
was kind of talking about that. And to be honest, I don't really see too much of that in my life either, but on the internet you do see that. So yeah, I post that article, and in one paragraph I linked to longing for death, and I just
Yeah.
basically I said like this guy's a sniveling bitch, and they didn't take that very well. Then they posted on the Reddit Happers board and kind of dragged me into it.
I think Eurasian writer. I think we had a dispute before. I recently did some time back a video with Luke Ford, and Robert was on that, and he was
Oh
telling me
yeah.
he wrote in that
No, I
comment.
wasn't on that. Roger Blackstone was on that.
Oh yeah, Roger Black's. Yeah, no, actually, I think it might have been Josh. No, it was Luke Ford, and on that he was commenting, and he was saying that I was some kind of working together as this non-white
Oh no,
coalition
this is
for
what he said. He
whites.
said, "What are Asians and Jews doing associating with white supremacists?" So
Yeah,
what?
that was it, and it was just weird, and I wanted to question him and send him some emails after that. He didn't respond back. So either this guy's an elaborate troll or just a dumb, sensitive person, right? I
Yeah.
really don't know his motives, and I do have his Google Plus. And I think his real name is there, and I just don't know. I think he's very
Well,
suspicious. His background.
I don't know. Like he complains about being Eurasian, and he's resentful. I think he is resentful towards his parents, and he's depressed about it. But he's not. He's not really. I don't know if he's a Eurasian chauvinist per se. I think it's more. He's saying that he's. Maybe I'm getting confused with other thing, but there's this other blogger called Stuff Eurasian Males Don't Like.
That's him.
That that is him
I
because
think
he's
it
the
is.
one who's
Yeah,
always
it's
he's complaining about saying that being Eurasian, basically a Eurasian male is a curse. That's the blogger
yeah,
thing.
it's totally not true.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was ridiculous too because I think it was a few years ago too. I started reading this stuff and I first didn't think it was existent, and now it came back to me. It's like, you know what? It just doesn't make sense, and I kind of called it out with my own brand of Asian Arianism and just said, hey, that's not true. The boogeyman seems to be Tila Tequila and Margaret Cho, and they seem to be more successful people what they do, and I don't know. I just don't think it's stable. You can't have this identity like bitch politics and assume
Yeah, like
that
I mean, it's a point that we make on Return of Kings about websites like Voice for Men, that you can't have a movement that's negative in nature. Just a bunch of guys who aren't achieving anything; they're just whining.
Plus, it basically gives ammo for the alt right because the alt right could say, well, if you mixed race children, you have your Eurasian collective, all of them are just going to be like Elliot Rogers or everyone on the
Yeah.
Apple board. And so, and if you tell them that, they're like, no, it's not about that at all. And then they lost in their own words. So it's like, okay, then
And
maybe Asian Arianism is the answer.
yeah, like I mentioned in that article I just linked to, I mean, a small part of why I do this is so, every time Hapa males are mentioned, someone just gonna go, "Hey, Elliot Roger, you know him? Yeah." That does anger me a bit, to be honest.
I'm kind of used to it now. I mean,
Brandon Adamson, who wrote in your book, you quoted to him basically, Pilliter is Elliot Roger if he matured and stuck with Asian women. That's how
Yeah,
he
I think
described
that's
you.
fine. It's
okay.
just, the idea that he's like the go-to for this little non-demographic. And, rather than whine about it, like I said, it's about positivity. I wish to be a better example. And I think Pilliter does too.
Yep. So, moving on from that, I mean, you do talk a lot about nutrition, and
Yes.
that seems to be at least a specialty. I don't know. I'm not so sure if you're a chef or you're good at food. Because to me, I'm okay at making food. You know, it's funny. I can make like homemade noodles and egg rolls because my mom taught me, but I'm not that of a culinary artist. And from me, what I'm from reading, it's certainly about eating right and taking care of your body, which is a hard thing to do, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not like a trained chef. I mean, I do cook for myself. I can cook mean steak, hamburger, like grill stuff. Like I can't bake. That's not really something I do. But I mean, yeah, I get along by myself, and I mean, I think that nutrition is important because obviously we eat every day. It seems blindingly obvious, but a lot of guys eat like shit, and it's not that hard. So I want to convey the simplicity of a proper diet.
Like, I mean, I'll take like vitamins per day. I always take like fish oil and like multivitamins, and I usually look up on that for like nutrition, and I kind of just eat light. But from what I'm looking at from the Return of the King's article, cutting and bulking, that's kind of something funny because especially about these people who are obsessed with like weightlifting and trying to get like strong and be like look like they're Hercules, they end up getting like I guess what I observed fat, and then they assume their fat is muscle. I don't know, but there's what is the science of bulking on that?
Well, I mean, it's just you eat more calories, you get more nutrients, and you will be able to build muscle more. Also, having more fat tissue does serve as a cushion for like heavy weightlifting. I see Olympic heavyweight weightlifters are kind of pudgy.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like there's difference between the sumo body and the I guess the normal athletic body where it's I don't know. People have different body types. They use sometimes the word
Yeah.
big boned, which is I don't know if I buy the big bone thing. This is kind of like there's a difference between being fat and having muscle, right?
I mean, it is a bit of a colloquialism, but yeah, some people are bigger, more robust in bone structure. Some are more gracile, thinner.
If someone is interested in getting and putting on muscle, say if a person, depending on a person is overweight or skinny, what are the different like diet strategies that you'd recommend?
Well, for the skinny person, I would recommend, I guess, a clean bulk would be the term I would use. Just increase your caloric intake, eat a lot of protein. Make sure you get your green vegetables. Dairy is also good. And then for the fat person, really, I mean, all you have to do is just kind of cut your caloric intake, and you will lose weight. Just it's really that simple. Just increase your exercise and decrease your caloric intake. I mean, even if you have to physically cut your food in half, that worked for me when I was in graduate school to lose weight.
We were talking also about legitimate superfoods, and
Mhm.
it's I used to have been interested in nutrition, right? But now it's just like I know to eat vegetables. I kind of know the food pyramids in my head. It's recently my one friend, he's obsessed with this one YouTube personality called the Golden One. He's like the Swedish macho guy, right? He has like videos on how to get like
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, that's the guy I was thinking of. I was getting him confused with the Sven who you're referencing. Yeah,
no, the
that's the one.
Golden One. And
That's
the
the
gold.
I
one.
have,
Have you heard of him?
I have
Yeah.
not.
Oh, okay, well, he's basically the Swedish guy with blonde hair. And he goes, "It is I, the Golden One," and he has these like he flexes his muscles. He looks like he's almost a prop body, but he had a series of videos where it's like I don't think it was lard, but it was like okay, if you're skinny and you do this, just take a lot of this stuff in, as it will increase your muscles. I'll have to find the video again, but the point was I found it very overwhelming, right? Because we're talking about superfoods, and it's like, could you really cheat with your body and like take a if you like wanted to get fat, you just deliberately eat lard, right? And it's like, I guess what do you think are what's the superfood thing like?
Uh, I mean, a lot of the superfoods that they hype up in the magazines are kind of crap, as I mentioned in one of my articles. Like the goji berries and the quinoa. Yeah, I mean, you really don't need to eat those. I mean, they aren't bad for you by any means. Just they're not any better for you than like comparable, dry berries or cereal grains. And then the legitimate superfoods that I mentioned in that article are like organ meats, blood, marrow. They're really all animal products, which kind of says a lot about what you should be eating.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I it's really like it's like a few weeks ago. I know it's kind of a sin. Like you have nothing to eat, and then it's more likely you're going to eat like Burger King or McDonald's, right? Or drink soda. I don't drink soda, by the way, and I had
Me neither.
like a big Whopper or something. I never have them, and then it's like you're kind of full the whole day, and it really does something to your body. Like it stays in your system or something weird. I don't know how to describe it, but it seems. But you know, some people have like the whole paleo diet where it's just like leaves and like greens and no meats, and
The
some
paleo
people,
diet's sorry for interrupting, but yeah, it's really good for losing weight, I've found.
yeah,
But
that's
the
what I'm
problem is
saying.
it's a little expensive. I mean, the cereal grains did kind of become a staple of the human diet for a reason. They're very cheap in comparison to meats and fruits.
I mean, I'll take lentils. They're pretty good, but
Yeah,
I just find it that this whole diet thing, it seems to be like you gain weight, you lose weight, or you eat junk food, or you just eat moderate food and you have an okay body. And I feel like you just have to like at least like go on the treadmill for like 15 minutes or
yeah,
lift weights for 40 minutes every
yeah. I
two or
mean,
three days and you're okay.
the advice that I always tell people is just the DES diet. Don't eat shit, and you'll be okay. And
I
maybe you won't be like super cut, but you won't have a giant gut, and you'll be able to get along in your day.
Yeah, I have the kind of the gut issue now too. I guess it's. I think I can control the gut. My gut. I've been trying to control it recently. I've thought about it, but I don't want to be too skinny where it's like bony. So that's why. I have to get back to late lifting just because the job and work kind of throws me off. But when I do it, it's at least an hour trying to do some bench pressing. I can. Yeah. As long as it's all really habit, really. It's unfortunate because it seems like most people don't have that, and they're ending up playing video games or doing something of that nature. So I think it's very abrasive that you have this advice to the person who doesn't have these things. I mean, would you say just go to the gym and eat fruit right food, or how would that transformation begin if somebody's completely just like, I guess, worthless?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna hawk the PDF that I give for subscribers to my website, where I give you a very simple workout and nutrition plan. I mean, it's very bare bones. Don't eat shit. Just exercise regularly. But yeah, I think it's pretty effective. It's the one I use.
Yeah, I can understand from that. Um, hmm. For cooking for the total novice, that's you said I wish you. Here's the funny part about cooking. We definitely live in kind of a stage where it's like you could just go out and get food, where it's like you could also go to the market and cook your own food, which is also good too. But I feel like it's really hard, to actually cook today when everything is so, you could buy it on demand.
Yeah, you can, but I didn't really mention this in the article, but I kind of like cooking my own food because you have control over the portion sizes, you have control over what goes into it, and it's really a lot easier to lose weight when you have that control.
It says, I'm not writing a fuck you, mom and dad diatribe. My parents, like yours as well. I've only
Yeah,
the best intentions. But your by definition being, I like it's funny. I do like the manosphere writing where it's like abrasive. I know Matt Forney always has like daily Facebook pages of just like it's like full wisdom, but it's like this really funny like I don't know. I like that style. It's like very
it's not
abrasive.
all my articles like that. It's just some are and some aren't. It's really depends
Okay,
on what I'm going for.
yeah. I mean, certainly if you get it and you tell somebody, you could
Yeah,
just
like if you
say,
read my martial arts articles, I'm very technical in that, pivot your foot here, thrust your hips here. There's not really any profanity in them.
it's also yeah. I'm looking at some of these things too, like two pots, skillet. I think I have some. I pretty much have some of those, or at least my mom does.
Yeah.
But I huh. Yeah, it definitely gives like something like someone who's like it reminds me of. I love bachelor pad economics so much, is simply because I could talk about Aaron could be talking something about like how to clean your car, and it gives out the simple wisdom of don't throw like cheeseburger wrappings around your car and don't let it make it dirty. He also get I don't know. There's something about wisdom that most people don't get out of these things, especially on the food topic.
Before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about you, like your Asian Aryanism thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Please explain to my audience what that is, since they may not be familiar.
Well, Well, yeah, well, my whole Asian Aryan thing. Well, if you probably know the brand name Pill Eater in my pen name, I've been going up on Twitter and YouTube and some other lurks of the websites. I've been pretty much. This is a fake name. It's not my real name. I launched something called Asian Aryanism a few months back, and it really was a project that really is as old as since the days I got into college. I just never was really open about it until recently after graduating college. And I feel as though that I think it's my project I need to talk to other people about. In fact, I think the very first time I think I said it was actually the first episode of Robert Stark when I was on his show. And since then, I had Big Man Tyrone make a video for me. I bought the domain name AsianAryanism.com. I've made a video that pretty much was mocked on 4chan and other outlets. I've been talking on that. It has had such a stir. Yet at the
Which
same
video? Your main one?
No, the main one, the Asian Aryanism video. Yet at the same time...
And then the Anime Right also wrote an article critiquing your ideology.
Oh yeah, and the Anime Right, Barcode, I forget his name. He recently had a hit piece on me, which is interesting. But the whole thing, this is very quite the opposite, because the other truth is not only that I was kind of the Asian studies major, but I've pretty much actually know most people in the alt-right. I've been a huge fan of countercurrents since my teenage years, and like I said, I've pretty much know some of these people IRL, and I decided to just incorporate this weird, I guess, alt-right studies or new right thing into Asian studies, and maybe. But really, I think, like we were talking about, the HAPA thing, that really was a reaction to that, where I felt like, you know what, I just don't associate with this. And that's pretty much from my contradictory ends, I really don't see that in, like, an urban city life at all. I see quite the opposite. And so that's why I wrote Asian Aryanism. I mean, at the first time, people were like, Aryanism, well, what is that? That sounds a little... offensive. Well, one person's Harlan Venison said it was whimsical, which I think is funny. Well, it is supposed to be embracive. It's Asian Aryanism. It's not like some twee thing, right? It basically assumes my first form of the website I had basically was guys on the left wing faction of the alt right that have Asian girlfriends as kind of a easy to understand thing. And I wrote a cheesy introduction piece along with it and attached it to the video. Since then, I was able to talk to another fan. He's from Cyril, from Belgium. He basically helped put up this new website, which is kind of messy at the current moment. We have to fix some bugs in it, and it's kind of the Asian Aryan thing is still under construction. But the whole point of it is it's been talked in some circles, but the obviously philosophy is that there is a very urbanite, probably post-Gen X, possibly a millennial, I would say millennial, generation of these kind of Asian Americans and white Americans that kind of flirt with one another. And they do sweple stuff white people like things, and they associate with, what do I always say? I say punk rock shows, vegan restaurants, art galleries, and nerd conventions. And it's just this accidental thing that pretty much will probably create more Eurasian people in the future. But not only that, it's this thing that's kind of red pilling too, and it's this it's very small. It's not a big thing, so it's super niche, and that's why no one gets it. Is because you really have to be in an urban city area. It's not like it could be in the middle or lower classes. And I'm really just trying to observe all my friends I hang out with. Really, that's what I'm really doing with Asian Aryanism, and I think it has an edge to Aryanism, where it's like the skinhead could also have an Asian girlfriend. It's this cultural thing that isn't like this bitch twee thing where it's like you're a nerd and you have an Asian girlfriend because the HAPA board says that too, like some weird longy hippie haired nerd is going to approach an Asian girl and have him. No, it's more like these quite the opposite. It's
Or the other thing you have this theory you call it the new cuck.
Exactly, and it's basically this super cucking ideal that it's like you're a white guy, you have an Asian girlfriend, somebody asks you if you have an Asian girlfriend, but you completely deny that, and you think your children are white, even though you commit the act of, like, being outside your race. And it's just like, So one friend just told me that's just cucking to an extreme. You know, you don't need to make new levels of cucking, but I call it the new cuck, like new metal, like and you cuck, because it's just like, to me, to the Asian Aryan aspect, if you just yellow pill them, I say, they can basically come over to the Asian Aryan side and have a new identity through that, and it's not just like Ryan Andrews in his book The Birth of Prudence pretty much argues
Yeah,
that the white, an Asian guy, we did an interview with him. He said, well, they're just going to break up because they realize they have racial differences, and it's a tragedy. Well, to me, I'm kind of the opposite, where it's like, well, what if they stick together? They're just going to be Asian Aryans. There's just no words and meanings for it. And so that's what I assume. And so it's like, it's really like this thing against this whole, this trad mentality, right? I mean, on the alt-right, you have women who are all, or no, guys who are all like, they're Aryan women in the wheat field, where they're basically obsessed over their blonde-haired women maidens, but they're only really doing that because they might have repressive sexuality issues. I don't know, but yeah, I'm just being more open about it because I feel like I am the typical Eurasian that doesn't, I feel this with other people. Well, that's basically what I have to say about my own ideology.
Yeah.
If you want to comment on that, but
I mean, if I can try to simplify it, essentially, it's basically, tolerating and maybe encouraging white men and Asian women to, if they're going to have kids, it's essentially to have these kids not be like the limp dick faggot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think it's a lot better than the mainstream HAPA train of thought, if you can call it that.
And here's the thing too. I'm also Asian male, white female. I think it works both ways. There's this common trend where I think Alex Fontana was recently on the show, and he said that white males, Asian females, well, it's white males dominating the Asian females and they're the ultimate sex slave. That's why they're so good at it. And I'm like, wait, well, hold on a bit. I mean, if they do have children, they're going to have Asian males too, so it must be... And I've met some white girls too who do like the aesthetics of Asian men, so it's not like this one-sided white male, Asian female thing. I really believe that in the future that if things look good, there will be an Asian male, white female reaction. It's just not stable right now. There needs to be more wamoffle, white male, Asian female, before there is Asian male, white female. Vice versa. That's how I feel about it. But I believe vice versa.
Yeah, to an extent, I agree with that. I mean, I'm currently dating a white woman. She did say she never dated an Asian guy before me, so I don't know if it's her, like, she just likes Asian men, or she just likes me specifically.
Exactly.
And I'm sort of like making that stereotype.
Yeah, there's that stereotype too, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're more philosophical than me. I feel that, like, I feel that a lot of the stigma against Asian males is sort of cultural. Like, I personally thought, like, oh, like, I look Asian, I'm not gonna ever get girls. And then I realized that if if you put your shit on, you got your game going, to use that phrase. If you get in shape, they're really not gonna care that much. And really, the failure of Asian men to be sexually, like, I don't even know how you describe it, like, sexually virile is just due to their own failure individually, I think.
It's funny because when I was growing up, it's more like the ideal that...
By failure, like, what definition? Because I guess different people have their own definitions of failure. Some people might say economic. Like, what do you mean specifically?
Well, I'm just speaking in a purely sexual sense, because, economically, they're not failing in the United States. But, I mean, just, like I said, a lot of the rise of Asian SJW stuff is basically just sexual frustration.
Yeah.
Do you think in a lot of cases people channel sexual frustration towards political ideologies?
You kind of broke up. I didn't catch that.
Do you think in a lot of situations is sexual frustration a motivation for a lot of political ideologies?
Oh, I mean, it is a major part of the human condition, so I think there's a lot of it. It's like, certainly the new left is, as long as you get your cummies, they'll allow the government to fuck them over as much as they want.
Yeah, I was just about to say, when I was growing up, I was told pretty much it was special to be like, oh, well, you actually have this kind of Japanese to your, and I kind of thought that was cool, and I thought, I would get, this might sound weird, like you get more friends if you, are special. A lot of, like, weirdos and snowflakes think that at first, right? I really thought, that's actually a good thing, but I just don't understand the whole HAPA thing where they have to cry about it like it's some kind of disease that they're half, right? I thought it would be a benefit for well, especially as for Asian women, right? It's way Asian women, if they're like, half white or half Asian, or just like whitewashed Asians, right? When women, they totally, I believe, have a benefit on the dating market 100%. It just seems like on the male side,
And
it's
you
just
could
not
even
stable.
say, I mean, Eurasian women even more so.
Yeah, exactly. Eurasian. Most of them are models. I knew 2 Eurasian women. They were half Japanese, and I dated actually one before, just for a bit, and they all wanted to be actually models, and I could understand that. But it's a weird thing. I mean, Robert, we were talking too about how like blonde Jewish women, right? Why would you think Jewish women with blonde hair would ever be a thing? That sounds like some Aryan, but yeah, at the same time, it seems like they have that benefit because they're both Jewish and they both look white, and they can have like a normal goyim or Gentile male partner. And, there are these weird things that happen with characteristics that come in your benefit.
Well, that's
that a lot of
something
people
that
don't
is.
exploit.
There's the same
undoubtedly.
fetishization going on that you see with Eurasian women, but I think it's more subtle. Like it's not as explicit.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, I mean,
It's there. I mean, it's in every pretty much like not every movie, but in a lot of movies. But people don't explicitly go out there and say it.
yeah, I mean, like the sexual marketplace is real, and I mean, you have to acknowledge that some races and groups of people do better than others in some phenotypes. But again, I don't think it's that ironclad. I think individuals can overcome it, which is why I don't. Even though I do agree with a lot of what you say with your Asian Aryan stuff, I just don't think there has to be this big philosophical movement, in my opinion, because it's really something that can be overcome by the individual, and Asian male, white female couples can be just as prevalent as the other way around.
Yeah, if you were so over. I just believe there seems to be Asianarianism, once again, is extremely niche. It seems to be this very punk thing. That's why I look at it as.
Yeah, the main thing that I do agree with you on is that if there has to be some kind of like massive sea change to stop this sort of like whiny HAPA thing, then I'm all for that.
Exactly. And it's exactly, it's this kind of people are, they make up terms on the internet, and then people just go along with it, like health goth lifestyle, right? It's totally made up, but it's just people follow it like an internet meme, right? There's this thing called the anime right, where it's basically everyone in the alt-right that likes anime. Turns out that they more associate with Asianarianism than anything philosophically wise. It's just a matter of like people understanding and creating words and means to that. It doesn't mean like an end all thing philosophy, but I guess that's why you also have places like you call Manosphere and whatnot and other things.
Well, with the anime Nazis, as your former guest Matt Forney calls them, a lot of them are just basically nerds who really are SJWs, except they just don't want those mean black people like pushing them around.
I've been actually trying to write for Anime Right, and the admin over there, Triggerbait, which we had on the show a bit, he's actually quite upset. He thinks I'm some kind of alt-light guy and trying to infiltrate. And he's like, no, we're really just Nazis who like anime. And you just pretty much said it. So, so it's like, all right, if this guy's going to give me shit for like giving him free content, I might as well not post on his website because he's just... But once again, I believe the Anime Right is pretty much flirting with the whole Asian Aryan thing I'm saying. Maybe I'm just looking for someone to wave a bigger flag so I don't have to wave my own flag. And, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that going on between back and forth of the whole nature of that. I really think the whole Asian Aryan thing really is just a preparation for this popular ideal of the whole ethno-state thing, like what Richard Spencer said. If people were to really have like divided ethno-states, then where basically are supposed to be the half-buzz go? Do they just like, all right, you choose your white or your Asian side, those are your ethno-states? I think there should be really a bridge in between there, where it's like white ethno-state, the Asian Aryan ethno-state, the Asian ethno-state. Like it's really science fiction, right? But in no way, also, here's the thing, in no way am I saying that the white race is doomed or that I hate the white race. No. The base Korean, he was also on my own channel. Base Korean, I think I retweeted his tweet. He said this 12 hours ago. He said, "Fucking white people, come on, breed, damn you, breed. You must survive, live. This world will literally get darker without you." And Base Korean is a guy who it's like, he's all for the whole white nationalist sphere, but he's coming from a Korean background. And it's like Asian Aryanism can't happen with no white people, right? Then what happened is going to be like the Chinese or Japanese. They're just gonna like either just kill you off or just like make you slave. But I think more of I guess I come from more of a Japanese side. I feel like the Japanese are more on the Asian Aryan fungus side, where they're gonna just overtake the background on that. But I just feel.
I mean, Japan has the cultural.
When I was in college, I
influence.
studied anthropology, which kind of, was the final straw in breaking away my blue pill upbringing. So, I mean, yeah, I fully believe that people are generally more happy when they're with their own people, whether they're white or Asian or black, whatever. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not against like interracial marriage or whatever, but I mean, they do fetishize it to a enormous degree nowadays. So, I mean, really, just like my diet stuff, where you keep it simple, my idea with the whole ethnostate is people will generally form their own ethnostates, but if a couple of people want a race mix, just let them do it and shut the fuck up.
That's I'm kind of the I mean they could do I'm kind of the same way too, but I just feel like at the same time I feel as though that there's like there can't be Asian Aryanism without white nationalism or nationals on their side. It's kind of like a parent thing, right? And I don't think there's enough Eurasian people to have their own Asian Aryan thing because I was doing another science fiction scenario before, and I said, all right, in the Asian Aryan state, there's going to be 4 different boroughs. The first borough is going to be white male, white female, weeb.
Is this the book out, Babyface Almond Eyes,
No.
or no?
I didn't actually. I don't think I add this in there. It was just an unpublished article of mine just floating somewhere.
So it's not for a book.
It's a thing I keep saying, but I should establish it more on Anime Right to just piss them off. But look,
You should have written an article about it.
Here's the thing. It's like first there's white male, white female weebs, right? I wrote an article called Weeb Nationalism recently for Anime Right, and just to please them. And these are basically weebs who are. They just propagate their white genes, but they think they're an anime character or they're Japanese or they want to be Asian. They're basically Asian-washed whites, right? That's your first borough. Then the second borough are the Asians that want to be like white civilization. They want to be around it, and they're Asian male, Asian female, and they're there, Then they could be whitewashed or they could be solidly not. Then you have the second group, which is the interracial dating between white male, Asian female, Asian male, white female. And they're just there. And then the final group you have are the Eurasians. Eurasian male, Eurasian female, there. Now, if you have all those 4 boroughs together, and they all pledge allegiance to Asian Aryanism, and they all interracially mix, then you can have Asian Aryanism. That's kind of my open border science fiction story, But it seems so silly because it's like, all right, you're going to have to gather all those people together, and then eventually I think you would have enough maybe Eurasians to happen, but I don't know. I just guess it's such weird, think about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of against the whole idea of like forcing like breeding these half breeds, not necessarily because I'm against race mixing, but because if you look at Latin America, it doesn't go so well.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not for forcing either. That's one thing. People are like, oh, you're advocating Asian Aryanism. Like, no, really, I'm just saying that this is going to happen if some current trends continue. I said, because I would say, I could possibly know this, and I see it. I'm just telling you how I see things, right? I'm not some dictator that's going to force this upon people. I'm just saying this is how I see things, and whether you agree with it or not, I don't know. You just have to address the issue in the future. That's how I look at it as.
All right. Are you familiar with John Darbisher's writing?
Yes, I like Darbisher a lot.
So do I. I mean, he writes about like that. He doesn't really do it anymore. He writes about that like Arctic alliance of high IQ populations, whites and Asians,
exactly.
Not necessarily intermixing, but just getting along due to their commonality being more than their differences. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I like John Derbyshire too, and there was I've recently I really like Charles Murray's book, The Bell Curve. I read that growing up. I like Philip Rushton. I'm a huge fan of American Renaissance. In fact, I read Jared Taylor's book, The Shadow of the Rising Sun, in one of my Asian Studies class. It was on outline. I didn't even know who Jared Taylor was before, and you could say that there is this weird high IQ white Asian alliance background. I mean, I said this before on the Gavin McInnes show when he had the Rugman versus Jared Taylor. What did the white, wigger rapper say to Jared Taylor? He said, "You whites and Asians are gonna press all the other minorities of the world," as if now whites and Asians are this evil, convoluting, evil power, supremacist power that's ruling over the world. I think he was just that Rugman accidentally called Asianism out. And there's just that's really what I'm talking about, and I'm really trying to say that there should be more of institutions behind that. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's funny that I had this other Japanese person to me said this online. She told me, why would you ever go out and tell other people to take pride in Asianarianism? I mean, my husband's white and I'm gonna have a kid soon, but why should that matter? And it's like, well, you just answered the question, And it's just I'm really talking about something of a phenomenon here, and it's just there has to be this kind of cohesive identity, but not to be like this bitchy identitarian thing. It's just a weird avant-garde thing. I look at it as.
Yeah, I mean, this is another thing I kind of learned through hard experience is that, I mean, while whites and Asians may have their differences, I find that like non-Asian minorities hate Asians like a lot more than white people ever will. So that's why, by default, I see whites and Asians as something of an alliance, maybe uneasy, but certainly more than the alternative. Which is why I really don't get these Asian men who sort of gravitate towards like rap and like black culture and
Yeah,
things.
like the witch. There's no. It's hardly anything. Like that doesn't happen. I mean, I know a lot more Asian friends who just will literally call out, mostly Japanese side. They'll just literally say, "Yeah, I hate black people. I don't want to be around them at all." And some Chinese too, I know, and they're just completely like anti-black but like pro-white. They're this. It's weird. It's definitely like. So that's another thing about Asianarianism too. Is it's like a black person. I tell this to a black person finds it interesting. Well, it's like, well, it's not Afro-Asianism. It's not like Jiro or Billy Blanks at all. No, if you want that to happen, you got to make your own institution. There can't be Black Lives Matter and Asianarianism. Asianarianism is an exclusive bond between whites and Asians. I'm sorry if you're black or Mexican or whatever. You just can't be a part of the little party because it's not the phenomenon. It's not the. And so I don't fall for those multicultural diversity, all people can come in kind of party thing. I just think it's really silly. And I have other stories about blacks who want to be weebs or half Asian blacks. That's a different thing. But in no way am I going to go out and say, oh, they can come in too, because I don't support the multicultural or the Kalergi plan, which often people accuse me of. It's not true at all. In fact, you would see that I will go and hang out with white nationalists and do fun things. It's just.
You
Whatever.
said before that Asianarianism is a backup plan to white nationalism.
Yeah, it totally is. If white nationalists fail to do their mission, well, next best thing is Asianarianism, is because that's what the normie whites will do. Most normie whites I know who are like in their 30s all now have like Chinese wives, and they basically are having, and you get swapped up in the Asian American community like that, and it's just like it's there, and there's more of that happening. Because who wants to reproduce with their like bitchy white feminist woman, right? That's a part of the revolution. What's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
So
I say on my website that if you want to, for all the alt-right people, you want to stop race mixing, you have to make white men and white women attractive, both in general and to each other again, and then the problem will kind of work itself out.
I'm totally for the ideal of getting white women back together with white men, but it's hard to do, and so I'm very sympathetic to white guys who go with Asian women. The same with white women that go to Asian men. I find total sympathy, and I accept them like that because I can understand those two backgrounds. Yet, I hope things get resolved in the future. I mean, I'm kind of the pessimist, but I just think it's very hard for white nationalists to do their thing when they know they could be reproducing with possible children that could fall under feminism, whatever. I don't know. You don't find that in like when I in Asian culture, Japanese culture. You just don't see that at all. And so it is really a safe space for the normal white man to go to. Is Asian culture really?
Yeah, I certainly don't have any arguments there.
But other than the whole Asian Aryan thing, I've recently written 2 books. They'll be out this Friday. One's just like short stories, and the other is a novella. Robert did actually read the novella on it, and I think you've read it before, Robert. That it's pretty much just a novella about more kind of like white. It's kind of more of a memoir about myself, but more this whole white male, Asian male, white female thing and flirtation, where it's like they join together. They hate blacks and other minorities, but they have this thing going on. And they don't think the world understands them, and just all that fun stuff. And I'm not the political ideology guy. I'm kind of more the artistic, avant-garde punk writer, where I'll put this in words and kind of more of the bastard art student, and I'll do it.
Well, yeah, it's a lot more. Even if it is political, it's more effective to put it out there in a fictional novel sometimes, because then a sort of academic nonfiction book.
Yeah, I mean, I could write like a manifesto of Asian Aryan things. I'll just keep writing articles.
Well,
online.
fiction serve as the best manifesto.
Yeah, and then maybe one day I'll write the big Asian Aryan FAQ. I mean, the website's we still gotta make a better website. We still have to get ideals out, because I don't think it's as effective as it is now. It could be more effective.
So your upcoming book, Babyface Almanize, it's not really a manifesto. It's like a collection of short stories.
Yeah, there is some references to Asian Aryanism in there. Same with the novella Trip, and it is interesting. And
at some point you should write like your official manifesto.
Eventually, I just think I need to write more concrete ideals, because once again, I have to always say them over and over again, and then I get convoluted and I start to trip on points. It's really easy to understand. Basically means people who go to Juju shows, like that easy, right? It's easy to understand. You just have to experience it, and then it becomes this mind opener. I guess I'm probably so lazy because I'm always involved in that scene all the time, where it just like, who cares? Why should I write it? Let someone else do it. I for some time, there was that troll writer Jennifer Suzuki or Claire Liu. My submission to white power and philosophy of white man worship, which is completely written by a troll, I think. And he uses the word not Asian Aryan, but the word Aryan in there, and talks about this unique bond between whites and Asians. And I think it was written just to piss off the half of Reddit. I mean, he references stuff in there, but I don't know. Yeah, that's all I can really say about Asian Aryan. It's just a brand I've been using, and I want to establish more art in the future about it. I think it's an aesthetic, pleasing, total art brand of some sort. But
yeah, I mean, my reaction to it is kind of similar to my reaction to the alt-right. Like, I'm not 100% behind it, but I certainly think it's better than the alternative, and I will support it.
But I think it's interesting because I think most guys too have manosphere philosophy and Return of the King's personalities, but they don't have the words and means to express it, so they just they just do it naturally. But when they do find out and read Return of the Kings and even some of your stuff, then they'll start to kind of align with that, and there is this wisdom, manly wisdom, that really needs to be more, I guess, out there. I mean, I said this before. I mean, you don't really. I guess, would you be more open to being a manosphere writer? Or do you think you want to be more like others to get on the manosphere side? Or is it more like, I don't care, I do my own thing, I have my own unique voice?
I mean, I am mostly a manosphere writer, as I said. It's just, you don't see too much of an Asian male perspective in it, so I guess I'm unique in that. And also, I do talk more about politics, and especially like anthropology and biology, because that's my educational background, so I have more of a scientific perspective from all the sex stuff. It's not just like hearsay. I can actually back it up with statistics and things.
You did write this article, What's Wrong with the Model Minority, and
yes.
You talk about Asian issues, and you criticize Eddie Huang, and you talk about, he's an example of like an Asian sort of SJW. I think, yeah he's a comedian, but
Yeah, I
He
mean,
sort of latches on to black culture as a way to express kind of his resentment towards whites.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly like what I'm talking about. And yeah, I mean, I might have kind of leaned towards that once when I was like very young, but yeah, I quickly found out that black people don't fucking want you like appropriating their stuff, despite the fact that
Was
they.
Steve Harvey? Did he get into an argument with Eddie Huang? Because I think this was something.
It was more of
From Steve.
a exchange of letters. It wasn't really a face-to-face argument.
Pillater, are you familiar with him?
Not really. I don't. I don't follow any of that. I don't take it any seriously. Like if you're around other like, I know most of my friends are Japanese. I mean, now I have just a bunch of Chinese friends, but they're like, you talk them out and they just don't care. They think it's just folly. And if anybody of your own race is doing that, it's like, nah, you're just trying to appreciate like white people. Like it seems like SJW culture and feminism is completely like a byproduct of white people, and like most Asians see it like that way. And some could argue and say it's a Jewish byproduct, but I don't know. It's just so associated with
white, white people, be they Jewish or Gentile, who hate white people, and that's really what the new left is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I once again we use the term alt left. I think me, Robert Rabbit, Bay Area guy, Prince of Queens. It's kind of like this go-to word where it's like you take in the alt-right wisdom, but it's like you want to create a new left wing, which is about like friends, family, freedom, but it's not exactly this degeneracy you see from like the practicality of being a left wing, right? A made set, but it seems like it's totally reserved. It's totally reserved for like destruction and chaos, and I think that's utterly disgusting and evil. It's just how can you be a political and make an ethical left? It seems like now it's impossible, right?
It's sad because I mean I am somewhat sympathetic to like some of the things that the left does claim to talk about, like the prison system is shitty, it should be fixed, like healthcare is an issue, like education is an issue, but when you get down to it, they don't care about these things, which is why I kind of abandoned left-wing politics when I was young.
I just think it has to be utterly reformed. It becomes this go-to thing where it's like you want to fight against the system. It became this cultural thing, and I don't know. It's just weird. Now I think the alt-right is this kind of now cultural thing too, where it's like everyone's an ex-leftist joins the alt-right, and it's like, but you're still a leftist exactly when you start. Yeah, it's
kind of my background.
And I don't know. I just find it's just this weird culture war thing. It's just I think it needs reforms in all areas. Some people talk about reactionaryism, where it's just like beyond both, but it's like it's impossible. Either you're this or you're that, and so that's how I kind of look at it as it's
the way I see it. I mean, I was kind of pushed into going more rightward because, like I said, I did have some leftist sympathies when I was younger, but then they just became so paused and degenerate that I looked at them and was like, I can't be associated with this.
I had a Chinese friend that said he liked socialism and left-wing politics. I remember asking him why. He said, well, if Americans keep voting Democrats and socialism, eventually China's going to rule over them, and they love the Chinese people. And it sounds like a pseudo-right-wing thing. And white Americans are just going to understand that Chinese is the greatest people civilization on the earth. And people like, I don't think it was Bernie Sanders. It was someone else. I can't recall. The whole democratic socialism thing. They're just going to succumb, and voting Democrat is just going to makes the Chinese people great. And it's funny because it's like once you understand that, it's basically he's talking about a practical left wing, meaning it associates with Chinese people.
Yeah, and it's also funny that all the left and the social justice people, when you get down to it, if they're not white, they want basically their people to be strong and wealthier and better, which is completely understandable. But then white people are the only ones who are dumb enough to believe in this rainbow coalition and holding hands around the world and multiculturalism, and nobody else falls for that. And I just think that's hilarious.
Should we talk about ladies you suck at sucking?
Yes, by all means.
Okay.
We talked all this. We talked a lot about Asianarianism and racial politics.
Save the lowbrow thing for the last time. Yeah.
Yes.
I can kind of relate to these points as I had girls suck my dick before, and I think I can relate to number 2, where it's like don't literally suck the penis. I mean, I'm gonna be open. I had this one girlfriend, you know, sex and sucking my dick, but it was like literally. It was right. It was just sucking my dick, where it's
Yes.
like you suck on it, but there's no like
Yeah, so
sexual
if I suck
pornography.
hard enough, I'm gonna get something.
It's like saliva's on it. I just
You
think
mean,
that's
are you
funny.
saying there's no motion? It's just like,
Yeah,
the dick
it's
is
like-
like in the mouth.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's just sitting
just
there.
like a big straw.
It's like you put a banana in your mouth.
Oh, like suction, like.
Yes, exactly.
I mean,
I don't know if it's true, but I heard some like theory that people can actually die from like getting air blown into their pussies. I don't know if it's true or not.
I've never heard that.
but the teeth. Like I never had an issue with the teeth, maybe, but I can understand when some girls are like really into like S&M and pain stuff. They will bite your dick. I mean, I had one issue where it's like a girl was on it and she bit, and I did bit, but it wasn't that. It was like, yeah, girls can get excited and want to bite your dick, and it's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, the girl that I was referring to in that first bullet point. I mean, she was like tiny little wisp who you would never assume would be into S&M, and I don't think she was. It's just her mouth was so small that when I was putting it in there, it was, like her teeth were just kind of, she couldn't open her mouth wide enough to not have her teeth like scraping against it.
Huh.
That's kind of the for the hands, clammy mouth. I don't know how it would. That's like bad breath.
Oh, you were talking about putting your hands around the dick and just sucking like the tip, and then putting the rest of the hands around the rest.
Well, no, it's what I mentioned in the third bullet one is that women, when they're massaging the penis, they go way into it. And it's like they're like playing an arcade game, just like cranking that joystick everywhere.
I never had it. They'll jerk it off for a bit, but they know they're gonna suck it. Like they'll tip the dick, and then it's like, okay, then you suck it. But then some guys,
and like I alluded to in that one, I have had Indian burns on the shaft of my penis.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Just,
masturbate
like,
too much, you'll get scat. You rip your dick. You can put lube on, but yeah, I never had a.
Well, it depends if you're circumcised or not. Yes.
Yes.
Who the fifth one is when I'm just trying to what's the fifth one? I'm just trying to read it real quick. It's
Stop
like,
and let coitus ensue.
Don't.
Yeah, some girls, they get really into it, and this one, she was good at it, but I was just saying, let's just have sex. Let's stop with this. She was like, no, I have to finish this.
I never had experience with that. Yeah, but that's funny. It's like girls have to finish it. It's like, oh, then you change position. Like, on that, I'm like, I'm kind of different. I was like, I had this one experience, this one girl, where it's like, she's sucking it, she liked it, but then I was like, I'm just gonna come on your belly. She was like, okay, and she was like, okay with that. It's not like she wanted to finish it, or and it's like, or I don't know. There's all this weird psychology where it's like, either, I think Chartiste might have said this, where it's like the psychology between swallowing sperm, spitting sperm out, coming on your face, between how the girl's psychology is. Not come on my face. I don't know. Some friends have like, they like it when girls swallow your sperm, but then there's this idea where it's like, nah, if she swallows your sperm, she's a little too slutty. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about the whole.
Or does he say spitting is a rejection?
Spitting is or no, but I mean, I had one girl swallow.
Now, what does he say about coming on the face?
It's more like submission, or I can't recall, but there is this whole psychology behind it. I mean,
what is the deal with like a Japanese porn with like the multiple coming in the face?
Bukake.
I've never engaged in that.
No, if you have to be in a room with other men, I mean, I don't know. Once again, it's like
for like people, especially a lot of like feminist critics say that like bukkake is like homoerotic, like men who watch it are gay.
It's more like it's a men thing where it's like all the men are like not punishing, but like being a part of it. It's more like I think it's on the women's side where it's like this girl can take all these sperm from these different men and she becomes the mother.
There's something kind of gay about it because like in the videos, like there's this visual focus on just all these multiple coming penises. I mean,
if you're into that, I mean, some guys get high when they see their guy jerk off, and it becomes, I don't know, maybe there is that homoerotic thing in there, but I think originally you're just jerking off on the girl, so it's just like you should respect that the girl is gonna take your sperm. You know, she becomes.
You actually said on a previous podcast or something nationalistic about it.
In the Japanese respect, Japan, they look at it as like all the men are finally gonna get with the popular, you know, hot slutty girl, and she's going to respect men from the nerd, from the popular guy, and all of them in the room are gonna get naked and jerk off on this girl, and this girl respects all the guys, and she's the powerful one. I know it sounds like a silly feminist thing. But no, it's actually this nationalist thing. It's this thing where it's like Japanese for Japanese. It's a different, like, weird Japanese sexuality. The type where it's like Americans will look at and be like, oh, it's the.
But did that genre, did it originate in Japan, or you don't know?
Bukake, yeah. With a term like that, it's more like a punishment thing, too. It's like if you were the bad and you were cheating, all the men deserve to jerk off on you because it's punishment. And you
Did you
deserve
say in porn or in traditional Japanese culture?
I don't know if there was incidents of it in the past, but what I read.
Let me Google it up.
I don't think, but the ideal, it usually comes from punishment, and it's this ideal from what I've heard from a other friend, Japanese friend before. It's basically punishment. It's this, yeah.
I'm looking up. Hold on, let me look up the Wikipedia article. History. Okay. History. It's okay. It says it does claim that in ancient Japan it was like rumored to be like a punishment for a woman who was committed infidelity.
But the point is, all the men get high off that because it's like, be respectful to the man, stay, you know, exclusive with your guy, or the whole community is going to jerk off on you, and you become the woman of everyone. It's like a very sort of Confucius, I would say post-Confucius kind of way of thinking. You know, it's this kind of, I don't know. It's yeah. That's what I meant by Bukake being like nationalist. It's very within Japanese people.
So the appeal. I mean, there's a lot of sexual things I don't really get the appeal of, but that's a whole definition.
Rose Kristen Taormino is a feminist author. She likened it to a gay circle jerk.
Because she's jealous because she's not getting into it. Larsen, Halleck, it's nice talking to you.
It was nice talking to you too, both of you.
I'd also like to thank Robert Stark.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You can check out Halleck's website at barbaricgentleman.com, and as well check out some of his stuff on Return of the Kings under his name.